All right, we are about to get started with Feed the Press. This is a show that Amber and Mike do every weekend, and I'm filling in for Amber today, so we are going to go ahead and get started
I didn't even notice the difference. I'm sorry. I thought Amber was here the whole time.
Oh, snap. All right, I'm about to pop us up on camera. I'm just clicking the right buttons, which is the most important part when it comes to operating this digital desk here at Local News Live is touching and pushing all the right buttons. So I'm making sure everything goes according to plan. And
It's a heck of a contraption.
I think we are good to go here. All right, Mike. So the very first question I'm going to ask you is, do you know the difference between a vegetarian and a vegan?
So I do, actually, because when Emmy and I first met, she was a vegetarian.
Oh, cool.
And
She's your wife, in case people don't know that are watching.
Right. Emmy is my wife, yes. At least last I checked. Might have to check in now because I'm paranoid. But yes, Emmy was a vegetarian when we first met. And so I went, wait, so you don't even eat chicken? Because I thought vegetarians at least ate chicken. She said, no, but I'll eat eggs. And I'm like, but eggs are made of meat. And so she had to inform me that a vegetarian will eat animal byproducts, which like eggs and cheese and milk, but a vegan is a person who does not even venture into the animal byproducts, completely free, just nothing but plant-based diet, from what I understand.
So you've had a good experience, a good education when it comes to vegetarianism and veganism. And as you just said, when you first learned about her choice of diet, you thought, people can eat chicken and still be a vegetarian. So there's a lot of misconceptions. So part of what we're going to do over the next half hour or so is we're going to break down what a plant-based diet is. And Amber interviewed someone that has a very good knowledge and background. She's part of the vegetarian resource group. So she's going to talk about some common misconceptions. And then I happen to be, full disclosure, a vegetarian myself. I've been a vegetarian since 2003, so almost 20 years now, coming up on my 20-year vegetarian anniversary. And I cooked a vegetarian quinoa casserole at home in my kitchen. It's one of my favorite vegetarian recipes. And I filmed it so I can share it with you all so you can learn how to cook it. Because even if you're not a vegetarian, you might want to try meatless Mondays or just kind of dabble with eating more vegetables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up an explanation here of what you just kind of explained, Mike, yourself. So you definitely.
Oh, so I was right.
You were absolutely right. So vegans and vegetarian diets, what's the difference? Vegans do not eat meat or use other animal products and byproducts. You may be wondering, what is an animal byproduct? Well, here are some examples. Eggs, dairy products, honey, leather, fur, silk, wool, cosmetics, and soaps derived from animals. And vegetarians don't eat meat, fish, or poultry. So it's kind of a little bit easier to know what vegetarians are versus vegans because there's a lot that goes into being a vegan. But to give us more of an education of all of this, Mike, I believe you're going to introduce our guest here.
Yes. So this is the interview, of course, with the Vegetarian Resource Group. I'm going to hit play here. Oh, hey, it worked, I believe. So dedicated to educating the public about plant-based diets. And so our guest, of course, oh, shucks, I seem to have misplaced it here. Oh, darn it.
Well, it's someone with the Vegetarian Resource Group, and we'll soon learn her name because Amber definitely interviewed her and will introduce her to us here.
I'm so sorry. I thought I had her name here, and then I apparently skipped over it, so.
That's all right. Well, we'll go to that interview and learn more about it, and by the time we come out of this interview, we will know her name, so we'll say it 5 times to make up for this.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go straight to it.
Amber Sipe here with Local News Live. Well, summer is the time for backyard barbecues, getting out the grill, lots of people cooking, of course, burgers and hot dogs, but how can we make sure our backyard barbecue caters to all types of eaters, including vegetarians and vegans? Well, to answer that question and tell us much more about vegetarian and vegan diets, we have Rissa Miller with the Vegetarian Resource Group with us today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for asking me, Amber. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so excited to learn more about this. So, Rissa, we know there are so many reasons, of course, that someone may choose to cut out meat or animal products out of their diet. What are a few of the most common reasons for becoming vegetarian or vegan?
Sure. So the three most common reasons are health, animals, and the environment. Basically, people approach it from any one of those places, sometimes more than one of those places, and just sort of grow from there.
Okay. Now, if someone watching wants to change their eating habits for any of those reasons or a number of reasons, but they aren't sure how to do that, where to even begin, where can they start?
So one decision at a time, honestly. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing transition. Some people do that. Some people just wake up one day and say, I'm going to go vegan, and that's that. They are vegan thereafter. But most people transition gradually. They decide, okay, well, first I will cut out red meat, and then I will then cut out pork, and they make it a transition. There are lots and lots of resources online to go vegan or vegetarian. There are free pledge groups where you're assigned a mentor and taken through a free 4-week program online. They're available all over the country, but since most of them are now on Zoom, you can do them from anywhere. And just simple Google searches. The Vegetarian Resource Group, vrg.org, has lots of stuff online, lots of science and data, so that you make sure you're meeting all those nutritional needs that are a concern.
Yeah, and speaking of those nutritional needs, that kind of leads into my next question. Meat is obviously a big source of protein for those of us who do eat meat. So what can you include in your diet if you're vegetarian or vegan to make sure you're getting, protein and other nutrients that, a lot of people are used to getting through meat?
So Amber, I am not a registered dietitian, but I can tell you for sure that protein deficiency on a vegan or vegetarian diet is not really a concern, as long as you're eating an adequate number of calories every day. And for most people, depending on your activity level and size and age, that ranges from 1,200 to 2,200, somewhere in that neighborhood most of the time. But the truth is that even the American Dietetic Association agrees that well-planned vegan and vegetarian diets need no protein supplementation. The one supplement you may need to consider as a vegan would be B12, and actually most Americans are deficient on B12. Hilariously enough, it doesn't come from animals, it comes from a bacteria that is on the plants that we wash off.
Huh, interesting, never knew that. That's something that maybe a lot of people didn't know. So again, kind of leading into my next question, what are some things that, maybe people don't know about vegetarian or vegan diets, or even some misconceptions about those diets from someone who does eat meat?
So the most common misconception is that all vegan and vegetarian food is healthy. That's not a fact. Vegans still eat potato chips, you can get donuts, you could drink Coca-Cola, and none of those things would ever be mistaken for health food. So that's probably the number one misconception. The other misconception would probably be that it's really difficult to do. It's not. It's very easy. I've been a vegan for 26 years, and I've never been deficient on any macro or micronutrients because of my diet. And like I said earlier, I'm not a registered dietitian. I simply eat a varied diet with lots of fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, and whole grains, as well as now we have vegan convenience products like the stuff here. But it didn't used to be that way. It used to be that you ate whole foods. So, I think no matter what diet you're on, if you're eating a varied selection of foods with lots of plants and grains and vegetables and stuff like that, you're in a good situation.
Yeah, and it seems like it's almost getting easier maybe to do vegetarian and vegan diets. I know when I go into basically any grocery store, but Trader Joe's to name one, seems like there are a lot of options and more growing, and that section is growing. Have you realized that being the case, that section in the grocery store is growing a little bit over the years?
Absolutely, 100%. All of these products here to my right, didn't exist when I went vegan. Most of these companies didn't exist when I went vegan. I mean, it's grown exponentially. In fact, I think a lot of food marketing companies would agree that vegan is the #1 growing segment, even above gluten-free and low carb in the convenience food category. So it's definitely becoming much easier to go out to eat. Even fast food chains are embracing vegan and vegetarian options, and it's become highly accessible.
Yeah. So, and again, that also kind of leads into my next one. You know, as someone who's vegetarian or vegan specifically, how do you respond to people who don't take those food choices seriously? You know, we just talked about how it's, you know, growing nationwide. Lots of restaurants have that option. But, you know, what if you come into contact with a restaurant or a person that maybe either doesn't take that diet seriously, thinks it's a joke, or maybe is even dishonest about what they've cooked for you at their home? How do you handle that?
Okay, there's a lot of questions in your one question.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
the front of that. I try to live my life in a way that I don't judge other people who hold different opinions than me, because I don't necessarily want them to do that to me. So I don't necessarily feel like it's appropriate to beat someone up because they have a different belief than I do. That said, I approach all things gently in my life. And if somebody is curious about vegan or vegetarian food, I'm always gentle in how I offer to them. And I try to just make something delicious whenever I am providing for others, no matter what diet they eat. I try to be respectful. Now, not everybody shares my philosophy. And I've definitely encountered people who were extremely rude or judgmental about me being vegan. And I've definitely encountered people who made fun of me, even in professional situations. So, which doesn't make sense, but there it is.
Right.
So, that said, I always try to take the high ground, and I always try to continue to be respectful, even if they are not. And I think that everybody wants to be treated that way, no matter what they eat or what they wear or what kind of music they like. Everybody wants that kind of respect. And I feel that if you go forward confidently, no matter what you eat or what choices you make, that you will garner some respect for your decisions.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point. Now, you know, for those of us who maybe, you know, they have a friend who's vegetarian or vegan and they just don't know how to even, you know, cater to them while planning a meal or providing a meal, how can we do that? How can we make sure that, you know, we always have those options that are good for them to eat?
So again, as we've already discussed, it's easier than ever in the modern shopping scene to provide for vegans and vegetarians at a family cookout or corporate luncheon, anything like that. The first thing I'll say is if you're doing something through a caterer, always ask them. They will probably be able to provide an answer. But if it's at your home and you're dealing with like a brunch or a picnic, the internet is definitely your friend. Google will provide you with the top bloggers in the category. And then Pinterest is also a great resource to find good, solid recipes with gorgeous food photos. So then if you have a favorite family recipe, this is always an important thing to remember. Say you have a potato salad recipe in your family and you want to make it for a vegan friend or family member, but it calls for mayonnaise. There are vegan mayonnaises available now. There's vegan cheese that melts now. There are even multiple vegan bacon options on the market. So you can definitely make that potato salad recipe. And my guess is that even if you only make a vegan version of it, all of your guests are going to enjoy it and they're not going to know the difference.
Awesome. Well, speaking of different recipes, I know that you had one that you wanted to share with us today. It sounded really good when we were talking about it over email. So what do you have for us?
Today I'm going to make a black bean taco bake. It is a sheet pan meal, which means it is so easy. Wait till you see how fast this comes together. So it starts with a meatless crumble. I used this Boca crumble. Just picked it up at the regular grocery store. It's available nationwide. And I sauteed it off. And that goes in along with, wait till you see how easy this is. Half a cup of green pepper, half a cup of sweet potatoes, half a cup of black beans, half cup of corn, 1 cut up squash, a teaspoon of cumin, and 1 cup of just regular old jarred salsa. I mean, anybody can make this, right? So easy.
Yeah.
So stir it all together.
Oh, it looks so good. All those vegetables sound so good together too.
Oh, and the color is just absolutely gorgeous.
Mhm.
And then I already have on a sheet pan a bunch of corn tortillas, and it just gets placed on top of the tortillas to go into the oven at 325 for about 30 minutes. So easy, right?
Yeah, sounds so good. And I'm sure you can also top it with different kind of vegan cheese. Is that right?
Well, if you're vegetarian, you of course would have the option to use regular
Yeah.
dairy. If you're vegan, vegan cheeses. I use this Daya, and so this is what it will look like going into the oven. This is what it will look like coming out of the oven.
Oh my.
I already melted this vegan cheese on top, and to finish it, I have some sliced up cabbage and a little more vegan cheese because.
Oh my gosh. Looks awesome.
So ridiculously easy. And just some lime juice. So easy, great to serve to anyone at all, pretty much. You could top it with guacamole. There's vegan sour cream. There's any of your favorite toppings would work on this as well. And
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
It looks so awesome. I'm starving now. So I'll definitely have to try that. And it does look so easy, which is so great. So many of us are busy, and it's so hard to, cook a full lengthy meal. So this is awesome. I love that. Now, for those of us who maybe want to learn more about vegetarian resource group, vegetarian vegan diet, find some more yummy recipes, is there a place we can go online for all of that?
Absolutely. And also, we do publish a magazine. We have the Vegetarian Journal. This is
Awesome.
what I do at Vegetarian Resource Group. I am the senior editor, and it comes out quarterly, and vrg.org is our main website. So there's literally thousands of recipes there, as well as scientific resources, nutrition resources. If you have a specific nutrition question, we have a registered dietitian who's also a nutrition PhD who answers one in every issue of the magazine. And yeah, it's just a super easy way to get more information, even if you just want to try meatless Mondays or, plant-based after 6, whatever system you want to give it a try, we've got the resource for it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And thank you for being with us today, telling us about vegan, vegetarian diets, also sharing that delicious recipe that I definitely need to try. Hopefully we can all keep that in mind when planning our next party or dinner for friends. So I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Amber.
All right, that was an excellent segment by Rissa Miller. She's the senior editor of the Vegetarian Resource Group. Rissa Miller.
Rissa Miller.
Rissa Miller.
Rissa Miller.
Rissa Miller. Thank you so much, Rissa Miller, for doing that interview with Amber. And I will say that you were totally right that there's so many new products out there for vegetarians and vegans out there. So it's making it a little bit easier. I will say close to 20 years ago when I became a vegetarian, we didn't have all this stuff either. So it's definitely nice.
If I may ask, what motivated you? Because I know I've met a number of vegetarians in my life. For some, it's the morality of eating meat and so on, and for some, it's more of a diet thing, or a combination of the two.
Well, I will say, let me unmute myself, that would help. I will say I was about 13 when I decided to become a vegetarian. And I just, honestly, I never liked the taste of meat, and I always gravitated more towards vegetables. And it was just a combination of things. So it was pretty much everything all wrapped in one big bow. So yeah, and never looked back. So speaking of which, to be a vegetarian or a vegan, you have to really know how to cook good veggie meals to get all of your nutrition in. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this next segment where I cook for you my favorite, it can be vegan or vegetarian. It's up to you if you want to add the cheese, but it's a quinoa casserole, and quinoa is packed with protein for you. So let's go ahead and watch this segment. And let me just, you'll see when you watch this, I make multiple disclaimers. I'm not a professional chef. You're probably watching me.
Welcome to Feed the Press. Yeah.
Chop things wrong, saute things wrong. So I say that throughout this segment. So let's go ahead and watch this now. Hello everyone, I'm Victoria Shirley with Local News Live, and today I'm really excited to be here with you cooking my very first meal for Feed the Press. And today I'm excited to be sharing with you one of my favorite recipes. It's a vegetarian quinoa casserole packed with protein and full of veggies. So whether you're trying to eliminate meat completely from your diet or just a little bit, or even just trying to add more vegetables into your meals throughout the week, this is a perfect option for you. All right, let's get started. So you may be wondering, what exactly do I need to make this recipe? Well, one thing I really like about this recipe is it's half fresh and half canned. So that kind of makes your life a little bit easier. So as far as the can goes, you need a can of black beans, a can of Rotel tomatoes, you can pick whichever ones are your favorite, diced green chilies, red enchilada sauce, some corn, and quinoa right here. As far as fresh, your favorite mushrooms, some diced red bell peppers and any other colors you'd like, zucchini and squash, and carrots. So you want to, cut them up as tiny or as big as you'd want them in this casserole. Okay, quick disclaimer here. I am obviously not a professional chef, and I'm probably not cutting these carrots exactly how they're supposed to be cut. But this makes this recipe even more perfect for you because it means amateurs like me can do it. And I should mention, cheese is totally optional. This can either be vegan or vegetarian. It's up to you. For the quinoa, you need something like this. This is a fine mesh strainers because you're gonna have to wash this quinoa. So let's go ahead and wash this 1 cup of quinoa. Okay, next step, you're going to want to take your clean, washed quinoa, put it in a saucepan, and put it on the stove. You're going to also want to add 2 cups of water. Next step, you're going to want to cover it and turn the heat up high until your quinoa starts boiling. Typically, while the quinoa is cooking, that's when I chop up vegetables. But since we don't have all the time in the world, I made sure the vegetables were pre-chopped today for you. Okay, now that our quinoa is boiling, we're going to reduce the heat and let it simmer for about 10 minutes or until all of the water is cooked out of this quinoa. So while we're waiting for that to happen, let's go ahead and cover it back up. Who doesn't love sauteing vegetables? I kind of think that's the funnest part. Let's heat the pan, get some olive oil ready, and get ready to saute. Okay, it looks like our oil is all heated up. Time to add the vegetables. And of course, when you're sauteing anything, you're gonna want to make sure to stir it and coat all of your vegetables with oil. Okay, it's starting to look like the quinoa is about ready, so let's fluff it a little bit and make sure that there's no more water left over. And one good way to know if quinoa is done or not is to see if you can see the little white spirals in the quinoa, then it's most likely done. Okay, at this point, I get my casserole dish ready and I pour the quinoa into that casserole dish. You want to make sure you don't leave it on the hot pan for too long because then it's going to stick to the pan and you don't want that. Next, we're going to add the vegetables. Now it's time to go ahead and open all of these cans and add it to the dish. I fully admit it doesn't look great right now, but let's stir it up and I think that should do the trick. Now they do say the more colorful your food is, the healthier it is, and I think we've got the rainbow in here pretty much. All right, now that you've got a good mix of your vegetables here, now you have a choice. Is this going to be a vegetarian dish or a vegan dish? If you feel like you want some cheesy goodness in your life, then go ahead and add cheese. Okay, and the final step, which probably should have been the first step, but again, I'm not a professional, definitely an amateur, is to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Okay, so you're gonna need to stick this in the oven for probably 10 minutes or until the cheese is melted. Okay, let's do one last disclaimer. I'm obviously not a professional chef, and if you are a professional chef or you just really know your way around a kitchen, you probably thought, wow, her technique wasn't great when it comes to chopping or sauteing. Well, that's the whole point. You don't have to be a professional chef to create fun, healthy meals for you and your family, especially on a budget. All of these ingredients cost no more than $20, and you can eat off of it for an entire week depending on how many people you're feeding. So I hope you really enjoyed this cooking segment, and if you decide to make this meal, be sure to tag me on Twitter at LNL Victoria. And I'm looking forward to seeing Feed the Press segments every Sunday on Local News Live. And shout out to Amber and Mike for letting me be a part of their cooking show. Have a good day. All right, there you have it, Mike. Are you gonna go home and make your vegetarian casserole?
No, but it looks delicious. I know Emmy would enjoy it, that's for sure. But a brief addendum to what we spoke about earlier, Emmy is no longer a vegetarian. She really dislikes some meat products. She can't stand pork or bacon, but she'll eat chicken and she'll eat steak. I guess it was just easier to adapt to that lifestyle after being stuck with me. But no, that looked absolutely delicious. I would definitely want to try some. I mean, I love quinoa. I really do.
Part of your Feed the Press segment, normally you guys sample the recipes you make, and I filmed this a few weeks ago, so I'm sure you wouldn't. I mean, I could have made it again, and maybe I should have, so you could try it, but maybe next time.
Maybe next time, yeah. Of course, I'm sure we'll have a barbecue or something, and you can always bring that as a sampling.
And if, we do a Friendsgiving over Thanksgiving, invite the whole LNL staff, I'll make it then too. But Mike, I believe, moving on to our next segment, I believe you have some fun facts.
I do. So again, fun facts about plant-based diets is, let's see here, courtesy of Seed Cafe. Approximately 5% of the U.S., which is close to about 16 million people, is vegetarian. 7.5 million Americans are vegan. Again, vegans abstain from all animal products, byproducts. And Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of our country, may have introduced tofu to America in 1770, which that is new to me. I need to look into that and find out more about that.
Yeah, there is an article on the SmithsonianMag.com if you're wanting to learn more about what Benjamin Franklin has anything to do with tofu. They have a really pretty cool article up there, so I would recommend you definitely check that out. All right, so moving along to the next part of our segment, if you could pull up that full screen, I seem to have lost my link. All right, here we go. So here are some benefits of a vegetarian diet. This comes from a National Institutes of Health study. And they found after, at least according to this one study they did, adults who eat a more plant-based diet may be boosting their chance of living longer. And this is because they may have a lower rate of death due to cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and renal disorders such as kidney failure. So this is due to a lower risk of those three diseases. And researchers found beneficial associations between a vegetarian diet and mortality tend to be stronger in men as opposed to women. It looks like my line got cut off there, but that's what it's supposed to say. Stronger in men than in women. So actually, Mike, it may be beneficial for you to become a vegetarian.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So that is what we have to talk about here on Feed the Press. Normally this is Amber and Mike's segment here, but she is on vacation, so we're gonna
Lucky her.
fill in for her. And like I said at the end of my little segment, thank you so much, Mike and Amber, for giving me this opportunity to kind of share my vegetarian lifestyle and my favorite vegetarian recipe. And it was really cool to hear from the Vegetarian Resource Group and hear all about the good things they're doing.
Rissa Miller?
Yep, Rissa Miller, thank you so much for helping us with this segment today. And that'll do it for us here on Feed the Press. Any outgoing words, Mike?
I would love to try what you cooked up, and all the information and the advice that we were able to glean from Rissa Miller and from the various sources that we have here for our supers. Absolutely fascinating. So if I wanted to go and become a vegetarian and or vegan, well, I guess you can't be both, you got to be one or the other. At least I'm prepared with knowledge, but I will admit, I don't think that's going to happen, but nonetheless, I will not judge anyone for what they choose to do and what they choose to eat or not eat. So again, fascinating stuff. I feel like I learned a lot today, and I'm not trying to be funny about that either. So a really good segment, I think.
Yeah, and you can also do baby steps, do a meatless Monday every once in a while. That doesn't hurt.
Oh, we constantly, Emmy is no longer a vegetarian, but we constantly will have dinners, lunches, anything, no meat involved at all. And I'm perfectly okay with that, but I will always enjoy a steak. So I'm sorry, America.
That's okay. Well, thank you again, Mike, and thanks to Amber, who's out there somewhere enjoying her vacation, for allowing me to be part of Feed the Press. You are watching Local News Live.